kids podcast.
You can go slow.
A kids podcast about.
Hi, grown-ups. Mental wellness begins early. A Kids Co. has curated a range of audio, video, and book resources for the kids in your life, for whatever journey they're on. Check out all the content by visiting akidsco.com and typing Mental Health Matters into the search. You are not alone, and neither are your kids. That's akidsco.com and type Mental Health Matters into the search bar. What is adventure?
Adventure is when you like to try something new and do something really exciting.
It's like when you go somewhere and it's somewhere new that no one has traveled to.
Adventure is when you explore somewhere that you don't know.
What is an adventure? Well, I do talk about it a little bit in the book as a secret ingredient of it is not knowing what's going to happen. Adventures come in all shapes and sizes for sure. There's something about adventure that's very exciting. It has to do with not knowing what's going to happen, exploring, wondering, discovering, challenges. All of those things are part of adventure. It's kind of a big word, isn't it?
Welcome to A Kid's Book About, the podcast. I'm Matthew. I'm a teacher, a librarian, and I'm your host. The voices you heard just a moment ago were from Anaya, Kai, Maya, and Ben. Each week, we talk about the big things going on in your world with a different author from our A Kid's Book About series.
Well, hello, my name is Ben Tartine, and I am a writer, and I am a dad. And you might say that I'm an outdoorsman. I really like being outside a lot. But most of all, I'm a father to my two children, Annabelle and Wesley. And then we also have some pets, a rabbit named Pepper and a puppy dog named Daisy. So there you go. That's who I am a little bit anyway. I am also the author of a kid's book about adventure.
When you hear the word adventure, what feelings come to mind? What experiences come to mind? So many things can turn into an adventure. Know what I mean? I bet that's what Maya was thinking when they asked this question.
What type of adventures are there?
There's all kinds of different adventures. You know, on the Camp Adventure podcast, we talk about some that were scary adventures. They're frightening. It might be getting through a big, huge storm when you're camping or having to go across a very difficult part of the woods or the wilderness, yeah? But then there's exploration and inquisitive or wondering, question kinds of adventures where you might be doing science and you want to discover how something works. And it's quite an adventure as you try and fail and observe and learn. There's learning adventures. There's creating adventures where the adventure itself is creating something. You think about building a sandcastle at the beach or in your sandbox. It's an adventure. It's a little one, but it's also really cool because you have to look at, it's just a big pile of sand. But how am I going to get the water mixed in just right so the sand can build up and I can pack it into different shapes? So there's creating adventures, maybe a cooking adventure, cooking some kind of new food you've never tried or baking something that in a way you've never done it before. Some of my friends have been practicing baking pizza in ovens they built with stones outside, and then they use chunks of wood from the woods to cook their pizzas. And if you follow the story from when they started wanting to do that, to drawing the pictures of their ovens, to cooking the pizza and eating it, you could call that one long, very cool food-related adventure, and a tasty adventure at that. Yeah, how's that? Maya, that is a wonderful question. That you know that there's more than what I just said. I'd love to know what you're thinking. There's all kinds of adventures.
Podcast listeners, I don't know if you've read Ben's book yet, but there's a good chance you're already familiar with his voice from Camp Adventure, the summer camp podcast Ben hosts. Ben loves to tell stories of growing up in the Midwest and all of the adventures he found himself in.
You know, when I grew up in Wisconsin, we didn't have beaches with tides. So I remember building but we had a lot of snow. And I remember the adventure. It was a years-long adventure of me trying to figure out how to build an igloo out of snow. Because I had a kid's book where a kid built an igloo, and I really wanted to do it. And I tried blocks of snow, and I tried rolling snowballs and stacking them up and digging big piles. But all of that together was a trying and trying again kind of adventure. And the truth is I eventually did build an igloo that I could get all the way inside of. It was great.
It's not always easy to tell when you're in an adventure or when you're about to be in an adventure. But having an adventure doesn't have to involve travel. It doesn't have to involve a big investment of time or resources. So much of what defines an adventure is the way you feel before, during, and after the adventure happens.
Yes. You actually keyed in on something that's really important about the word adventure. It's not just thinking the most positive, happy thoughts you can think about anything, right? Adventures, you get scraped knees. And sometimes, in some of my adventures, I broke my arm or I got injured or I had to learn something really, really hard. So adventure includes that it will be difficult and we'll have to try really hard, but it also never lets go of the idea this will be good. We will learn. There's always something beautiful to discover. Yeah, Matthew, actually, this conversation that I'm having with you right now is a bit of an adventure if you think about it. I think about coming on to talk with you about these things, and I don't want to sound silly, and so I'm a little bit nervous, and there's something inside of me that just wants to quit so that I don't even have a chance to make a mistake. But there's something stronger in me that says, no, this could be really fun. Let's do it. So this is one of my adventures right now that I'm having with you. I think that's really true. I feel it inside of me right now. There's an excitement. There's a little bit of fear. But here we are talking about something that's really beautiful and I think really good. So
we will be back in a minute with Ben Tertine and a question that Ben brought to the interview to ask all of you. All of that right after this quick break. Hey, it's me, Matthew. We have 10 unique shows on our podcast network, from shows about emotions to activism and advice to empowerment. And we are always growing. Do you have an idea you think would make a great podcast for kids ages 5 and up? Pitch your idea at listen@akidsco.com, and it might lead to our next great podcast. Our podcast family is always growing, and we'd love to invite some new voices to the table. Welcome back to A Kid's Book About, the podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about adventure with A Kid's Book About author Ben Tertine. Oh, I love a good adventure. One of my favorite things about adventures, whether I'm taking a new-to-me route when I walk our dog, or trying out a new restaurant I've never been to, or taking on a responsibility that I've never done before. One of my favorite things about adventure is the feeling. It's a feeling that comes in different forms, but it almost always makes a lasting memory. Almost like that adventure has changed me in some small way.
There's different stages of feeling, I think. Generally, on the front end of any kind of adventure, big or small, there's a feeling of nervousness or maybe a little bit of anxiety, sometimes more. So that's all related to those questions. What's going to happen? I'm not sure how this will work out. In the middle of the adventure, when you're working hard at figuring it out, or you're getting from one place to the other and you're in it, very exciting for me. That's why I think it's cool to think about all of life as an adventure. It's more interesting. You're more alert. I find myself, you think about walking down the street with an adventure mindset, you see all kinds of things that you wouldn't normally see if you're just trying to get somewhere. So you feel really good and there's an excitement to it. And then I guess maybe the best part is the feeling at the end of an adventure. And this is true whether the adventure went really well or the adventure didn't go so well. What you feel at the end of it is a sense of finishing, accomplishment. If it went really well, you learned what to do again next time. And if it didn't go so well, you learned what to not do again next time. And that in and of itself feels really good. So I think that adventure is a little bit freaky on the front end. It's very exciting in the middle, and it's confirming, and it feels wonderful at the end.
You sent in so many terrific questions about adventures.
What if someone decided to go on an adventure, but they didn't know what kind of adventure they wanted to go on? What would they do?
Do you need certain people to go or just yourself?
If you would be on an adventure and then you got stuck, how would you get help?
Well, do you ever see any bears?
These questions are so great, and they make me think of a passage in the book where Ben writes, quote, "Remember, the secret to an adventure is not knowing what will happen."
Yeah, I would love to ask everybody who's listening too, and I'll ask myself as I ask you, have you ever felt fear? Have you ever felt just a sense of anxiety, worry, nervousness? For me, that feeling has been so big in my life that I just figured fear was always just something, it was just always going to be very powerful to me. And the secret is that if you could think of fear inside of you, it's like inside of that fear is the secret. The inside, what you're afraid of is not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing if you'll be okay. And that's what I said in the book. Right there is the secret to adventure. At that moment, you can say, okay, I'm going to stay afraid, which means I'll continue worrying and going through all of the different things. Or in that moment, I can remember, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. Therefore, I am afraid, and that's okay and normal. It means I'm a human being. And now I can think about what positive good things could happen from here on out. So fear is really the big emotion I think we all feel. And if the next time you're feeling that fear come on, you can think right away. You can say, okay, what am I afraid of? And it's probably related to, I'm not sure what's going to happen. It might be going to a new school and you're like, I don't know if the other kids are going to like me. So there's a lot of fear there. It might be really small. Like, I hope I put enough water in my sand here so my sandcastle doesn't fall over. You feel a little fear. I don't want it to fall over. I work so hard on it. Yeah. But when you feel that fear, you can let it, you not pay attention to it. And then it sort of controls you. Or you can pay attention to the fear. And that's the secret, because when you pay attention to the fear, remember, right in the middle of that fear is, I don't know what's going to happen. And that means I have an opportunity for an adventure here. I think that's it.
Ben's always had a heart for adventure, so it might not be surprising to know that Ben's book would be about adventure.
Yeah, it starts with me. There was a little 2-story coffee shop here in Portland, Oregon, where I live. And I was having a coffee with my friend, Jelani Memory. And he had just put together his own book that he wanted to use for his own kids.
Ben's talking here about a kid's book about racism, the book that started this entire company, and, as Ben shared, the one that Jelani initially just wrote for his own kids.
And so we're having a coffee and he says, hey, look what I put together for my kids. And I said, wow, that's really cool. And I love the idea of talking with kids about this kind of stuff. So one thing led to another. Jelani actually made that book as the first one, I think, for the whole kid's book about? And then he invited me to write this story about adventure. So it was a friendship with Jelani for sure. And we went all the way back to school together. We went to college. We were friends for quite some time. So friendship was a big part of it. But then our shared love for kids. We both had lots of kid stories to share about our own growing up. And we thought, boy, if we can talk with kids about these kind of things that have been helpful for us and let them know that they are awesome and that they are intelligent and strong and do anything we can to help kids know they are loved and they are beautiful and good, let's do it. And he's all about that, and I'm all about that. So here we go. We made a book. How's that?
Ben has been seeking adventure all throughout his life, but there's something else here too that we brought up a minute ago, and it's something that stops a lot of us from finding our own adventures. Have you guessed it?
It's learning to pay attention to your fear. Doesn't sound like an action because you're not picking something up or going somewhere, but it is an action to just learn to know what fear feels like in your body and to pay attention to that fear. So that's a big one.
It is a big one, paying attention to your fear. But it's what will move you forward. It's what will help you grow. It's what will open up your world. It's what will help you to know and understand yourself even better. Here's Ben with a closing thought.
There's one thing I do want to say. I didn't get to it in the book, and I've thought about it ever since. And I know that at times in my life, and I know plenty of people in my life, including my wife, Allie, and sometimes me and my kids, we think, I don't have what it takes for adventure. I see other people, they're much stronger, or they have more skill, or whatever it would be. And what I really want to say is, I believe, I guess I don't know if this is true for sure or not, but from all that I've read and experienced and learned and seen and everything, I really believe every human being has an adventurous spirit. That's part of what it means to be human. So I want everybody to know that. I think if you're a human being, there's an adventurous spirit really deep down inside of you, and that is worth paying attention to.
Thank you to Ben Tertine, author of A Kid's Book About Adventure, for joining us today. And special thanks to Anea, Kai, Maya, and Demetria for lending their voices to this episode.
My name is Anea Griffith, and I'm 8 years old, and I live in the United States of America in Oregon. One of my favorite things is dogs.
My name is Kai. I am 6 years old. I live in Arizona, and my favorite thing is dirt bikes.
My name is Maya. I am 9 years old. I live in Arizona. My favorite thing is tennis.
My name is Demetria. I am 5 years old. I live in Massachusetts, and my favorite thing to do is go on the Ninja Line.
Want to be on a future show of A Kid's Book About, the podcast? Write to us or record a message and email us at listen@akidsco.com. A Kid's Book About, the podcast is written, edited, and produced by me, Matthew Winner, with help from Chad Michael Snavely and the team at Sound On Studios. Our executive producer is Jelani Memory, and this show was brought to you by A Kid's Podcast About. Follow the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are found, and check out other podcasts made for kids just like you by visiting akidsco.com. Join us next week for a conversation about immigration with A Kid's Book About author MJ Calderon.
Thank you so much for listening to this show. Now let's help it grow. We love to hear what you think, and your feedback will help this show reach more listeners. Rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.